Derailed and deranged.
Deranged, yeah. What do you mean?
I was going to say.
No.
Something to say?
Well,
We asked me how it was before, and I said, well, it's impossible.
No.
derailed and deranged. Well, all right. Sorry for being late. I'll start with the Heart Sutra in a second. I'm stalling. Okay.
I prostrate the Arya Tripura, thus did I hear at one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on that gorgeous mountain.
Rajguru, together with a great community of monks and a great community of Bodhisattvas, wasn't done the concentration on God grace from
perception. Also at that time, the body was
I looked upon the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom. And held those five aggregates also as empty, hoping the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra, said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? He said that, and the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon like this correctly and repeatedly, beholding those five aggregates also as empty of comparison. Emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factors and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, likewise, all phenomena are emptiness without characteristics, unstained, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore, in emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual form, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There is no I element and so on out, including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on, including no aging and death, and no extinction of aging and death.
Similarly, there is no suffering,
origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no intent, the Sattva's reliant on perfection of wisdom, and the man without obscurations and without fear, having completely passed beyond error to reach the end point. All Buddhas in the world in the three times also manifestly completely awaken the unsurpassable, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance on the perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of the great knowledge, the mantra, the mantra equal to the unequal, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering, showing only the truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. Shariputra, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. In that concentration, commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara said, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that, it is like that. One should practice the profound perfection of wisdom just as you have indicated, even the Bhagavan was spoken to the Shariputra. Surrounding in their entirety, and of join in highly praise that's spoken by the Bhagavan. Sangye chodan tsoki chonan la chanchu badu dani kyamsi sui dage chushigi betsonang dola penche sangye dopa asho sangye chodan tsoki chonan la chanchu badu dani kyamsi dage chushigi betsonang dola penche sangye dopa asho sangye chodan tsoki chonan chanchu badu dani suchi dagi chushi gi betson nangi dola penchi sange do pasho. So, good afternoon. We've covered only one verse today with Geshe-la, and the verse was pretty simple. I think I told a few inspiring story about his connection with his teacher. So it's quite nice to be inspired by great masters of the past, isn't it? What we normally, the teachers that we normally see are people that either live in Australia, Geshes that live in Australia or have been touring the West for some time. It's not easy to meet or to come by old school Geshes or those that were born in Tibet, grew up in Tibet. And when you hear their life stories and the type of hardships that they've gone through, not only the political story or the story of occupation living under Chinese rule, but just in terms of how hard they had to work in order to study and to debate and so forth. You get, I think, some perspective over whatever we do here, in a sense that sometimes for us it seems that we're working really hard, that it seems to us sometimes that we're busy from morning to evening just doing tasks and study and so forth. But then when you listen to what they do, it kind of, sometimes kind of I look at myself and think myself that I'm a bourgeois monk, like a decadent monk. Well, you hear some stories about, from those that were trained in those great institutions, not only in the Gelug tradition, but you also hear about other traditions, right? So waking up at 5 a.m., going to pujas, then taking classes, going to debate, then memorizing, then again going to debate, doing more pujas and so forth, then going to bed at 12 o'clock and again waking up at 5 o'clock. It's like, sometimes when I think to myself, did I sign up for that when I became a monk? It's like, did I have that in mind? I didn't have that in mind. But at least I should have the willingness to do that. So I have to remind myself that. But not only that, also sometimes you hear about, sometimes there's discussions with people that follow other Buddhist traditions, like the Kagyu tradition or the Nyingma tradition, and there's sometimes this discussion that you come across where the study is important or emphasized in other traditions. So you hear people saying that, in the Kagyu tradition, it's really important to meditate. It's much more important than studying. So whatever we do here is not that important. It's more important to meditate. So, but then when you speak about meditation masters that come from those traditions, it's not like the meditations that we do half-heartedly, like either every day or every once in a while. It's not just like half an hour guided meditation or not even a 2-hour meditation a day. It's basically sitting in a meditation box during the night and also during the day, not laying down for years on end, and structuring all our day around at least 4 sessions of meditation a day. So kind of, then when you start to look at what they do and what we're doing, at least I get some perspective over my inadequacies, where my feelings are, my attachment to worldly affairs. Of course we try our best. It's not that we can relinquish everything right now and think that I'm already set to do years on end like that, but at least we should think of the great picture, at least try to extend ourselves. Anyway, I wasn't planning on saying that, but it just came out. So what I thought of doing today was to begin with looking at the 46 secondary offenses, which we got with at the beginning of this week. Then see how far we get with that. Since we didn't cover any new material today with Geshe-la, I don't know if I have a lot to say. So let's see how it goes, what comes out. So, first off, as I said yesterday, we have the 46 secondary offenses, which are divided into 7 groups. So the first 6 groups correspond to the 6 perfections, right? So giving, ethics, patience, choice, effort, absorption, and wisdom. And then we have another group of 12 misdeeds, which are contrary to the ethics of benefiting other sentient beings. So this is, when you look at the numbers also that are associated with those groups, right? So 7, 9, 4, 3, 3, 8. Still the bigger group is 12 misdeeds, which are contrary to the ethics of benefiting others, which for me kind of emphasizes what we do here when we train in the man of enlightenment and the deeds of bodhisattvas. The goal is to be of benefit to others. So the way of benefiting others is through taming our own mind and also taming the mind of others, enacting the 6 perfections. So we have different ways that we can help others through our practice of the 6 perfections, but we do that mainly in order to tame our own mind. So we practice, for example, giving, and we do that, of course, in order to find ways to benefit others, but also through giving, we antidote our own miserliness. And we make our mind amendable to practicing ethics, because the main thing that undermines, or of the main things that undermine the practice of ethics is miserliness or attachment, right? Attachment to possessions compromises our ability to be ethical. So we practice generosity, ethics, patience, that abstains from harming others and so forth, but we still do that in order to mainly tame our own mind. And there is the last group of 12 misdeeds, which are focused on things that are contrary to the ethical discipline of benefiting others. So Jen is asking, did this list make it to your notes? I couldn't find new notes on the Dropbox. So Jane, by the way, today I saw your video in the morning, and then someone said, oh, it's Jane. I've seen your name on the participant list for a long time, and it says Jane Wita. So now I see that it's the good old Jane. Hi, Jane. The list did make it to the Dropbox, but it made it to the Dropbox just before the session. I did promise to put it on the Dropbox, but I remember to do it only half an hour ago, so it's there. All right, Graham.
Exactly what you did for me.
Yeah, Graham is also saying in a private message, can I ask a question about question 2 of test 4, as I missed a few meditation sessions, so I have no idea of the 9-point meditation on death. Is it found in the 2 meditations? Is it to be found in the 2 meditations in the Dropbox? So before I continue with the 46 secondary offenses, so just to answer Graham's question, the 9-point death meditation is taken from the Lam Rim. So it is the meditation that has the 3 roots, right? So I'm giving away the answer, but you still have to do a bit of research. So the 3 roots: death is certain, the time of death is uncertain, and at the time of death, nothing will be of help apart from the Dharma. And in each one of those 3 roots, there are 3 arguments that we use, and also 3 conclusions that we come to. So although it's not, the meditation is not mentioned in that fashion in the 2nd chapter of Shantideva's Guide to Bodhisattva Way of Life, still all the points in that meditations are found in different order in this chapter. So I thought that in order actually to work with that well, you really have to have a good basis of meditation on death and impermanence, and that's why I pulled together
and
this.
the thing is, it's also a lower scope teaching too, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
That's where he's at the moment, is in the lower scope. And it's really important to have a good foundation and good, if you've got that in your bones, that 9-point death meditation in your bones, you will save yourself so much time, because you'll just be so energized to want to practice.
Hallelujah, sister.
That's right.
So Carson, it's in the Lamrim notes. That's about the only notes I did. I looked at virtually every note. I thought it wouldn't be in the Lamrim notes. That's just the only thing I didn't look at. Yeah.
So it's in my tutorial notes, but when I say Lamrim notes, it's actually, if you have, for example, Lamson Kappa's Lamrim Chemo, you have a really excellent explanation, beautiful explanation in the chapter on mindfulness of death. It's kind of the summary of that. The question is found in the answer for that is actually found in the tutorial notes, but really to be able to meditate on that well, then you can look at Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chemo, the first
But
volume.
where is it in the Lamrim section of your tutorial notes? Is it all? What?
In the class, I'll put it on the screen.
Sure, I looked through all the notes. I've been through virtually everything in the Dropbox, and I couldn't seem to. I found stuff on.
So there is a file. I'll show you. So that's the Dropbox. Other material. Extra materials 2020, and that's the file.
Maybe I'd.
So that's the file.
The guide tutorial notes.
9-point death meditation.
Oh, that's funny because you seem to have a lot more stuff there than what I have in my Dropbox. I don't know what's going. Maybe I'm looking. Yeah, I couldn't seem to find it. I'll have another look anyway. I'll send you an email if I can't find it.
All right,
yeah.
Have a look again. I have a couple of other things on my Dropbox, but look at this one. That's the Dropbox that you should have. This one. It says Bodhisattva Way of Life for public access. Other material. The 7th folder is other materials, commentaries, etc. That should be in the extra materials 2020.
Yeah, I'll have a look. I'll have another look, and if I can't find it,
Cool.
I'll flick you an email about it. Yeah, it must be missing out of my Dropbox. Yeah, it must be there. I think I've got lots of things in there, but it's just finding it's the hard part.
You've got stuff. You've got baggage there.
What's that?
Yeah. You've got stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got so much stuff there that it's a little bit hard to find things. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Finding it.
I'll muddle through. Don't worry. I hope.
Yeah.
Very easy to find in there.
Yeah. I mean, I'm also putting some stuff from other sources because I think that it's always good to enrich our study as much as we can, to do it as extensive as we can, not to the point where we get completely lost in details, but at least to be able to hold to the backbone and then know where to slot in all the other information. So let's look at 46. All right. So the first group of secondary offenses is dealing with things which are contrary to practicing generosity, but also you can say that some of them are contrary to ethical discipline of gathering virtuous actions, but mainly it counteracts. It does offenses which are contrary to practicing generosity. Now, I think that, as we said before, things that prevent us from being generous is attachment and miserliness, right? So attachment to things that we have in our possession, and also miserliness, not being able to give them to others, even to the point where we cannot even use it for ourselves. I have some stuff in my fridge, for example,
Mm.
which sometimes, goodies that sometimes go bad just because I'm unable to give them to others. I think that I will use them. I will eat that.
Usually use that sort of example, not fridge, but
Mm.
that you've got stuff and it goes off because you haven't relinquished it or offered it on to others.
Yeah.
You can't use it either.
Yeah. So actually, I had a look. I had a brief read through the 46 secondary offenses the other day, and it seems that actually it gives you more to work with in terms of your daily reflection. So as far as, when you think of the 18 rude downfalls, many of them are things that are hard to do. Like, for example, I don't go around and destroy towns. So, I don't likely discard the mind of enlightenment. I don't likely discourage others from the Mahayana, or tell others that it's no use for them to keep the Pratimoksha vow and that they're better off practicing the Mahayana. Those things do not happen to me, not only on a daily basis, but I should think that it is unlikely that they will happen to me throughout our life. But then when I look at the list of 46 secondary offenses, many of the things can occur to me on a daily basis, but also they have to do directly with afflictive states of mind. Like, for example, one of the things that we've covered, that we spoke of, and we'll repeat that in a second, was to not curb down great attachment or a sense of discontentment, to engage in that, not to apply antidote to that, to follow upon that, is a secondary offense. So that happens to us, I think, to most of us, maybe even all of us, I don't know, but it happens on a daily basis. So I think that as far as when you look at the 46 secondary offenses and how you train in keeping the Bodhisattva vow, and also keeping with the trainings of Bodhisattvas, there's so much, so many things that we can do, so many practical things that we can do on a daily basis. Review them every day, look at our mind every day, try to assess which are our weak points, which are strong points, what do we need to pay attention to. So I think that it turns to be more lively. And we have looked at the 18 rude downfalls quite a few times before in our study programs, but we hardly looked at the 46 secondary offenses. I think that I've done it only twice, probably in the last 15 years with Geshe Jamyang. Those things that tend to be left, because the main things are the 18 rude downfalls, but actually I think the 46 secondary offenses give you much more to work with. So, when Graham says, could you please go through number 13? We haven't got yet to number 13, to the 13 secondary offense, but we will do that probably next week. So if that's what you were asking about, Graham. So the first one says, the first one is not worshipping the 3 jewels with the 3 doors. That's over 24 hours or every day. If a day passes without paying homage to the 3 jewels, it is an offense with respect to a training in the Bodhisattva vow. It's also, if you've gone for refuge, it is also part of your training in refuge, going for refuge every day in the morning and in the evening. So that would also not be in accord with your training in refuge. That's quite, I think, easy.
Well, I guess it's easy, but when you look at the subjects, so it's not subjects, but when you look at the second line, having a clear mind, recording your qualities. So you might do the frustrating and praising of your speech, but clear mind, so it's just a bit more subtle.
So Chuki is saying that here it says, and having clear mind, recalling the qualities, it is a secondary offense of not worshipping the 3 jewels with the 3 doors. This is actually a difficult thing, isn't it? Kind of when, sometimes we start a session here with, the teacher comes, then we make prostrations, then we sit down. How many times do we do it completely mindless. I mean, I do it often mindlessly just because this is how we start sessions, you know. So sometimes halfway through prostrations, I think to myself, oh, I missed on thinking about something in the first prostration. So I don't think I need to briefly think of at least one quality or two qualities, but it's pretty hard, isn't it? So, and also when you think of the qualities of the object of refuge and how complicated sometimes it is to think of the qualities, particularly when you study a basic clambering presentation, for example, it is said that the qualities of, for example, the Buddha, so that are the qualities of body, speech, and mind, the body with major marks and minor sounds, and the 60 branches of melodious speech, that's the quality of speech. Do we actually know what it means? You know, do we actually know what are the major marks and minor signs? You know, so it's very difficult to have a clear mind with respect to those qualities. Then you have the qualities of the Buddha refuge, right? As we go for refuge, there are the qualities that are mentioned in this unsurpassed continuum. So 8 qualities of the Buddha, 8 qualities of the Dhamma, 8 qualities of the Sangha. These are things that in some sense are easier to relate to, but also it's quite difficult to understand what they are. So going for refuge should improve. In order to have a clear mind with respect to the qualities, then we should obviously improve. But I think that we do whatever we can to our best ability. So to say that you need to have a clear mind with respect to the qualities, at least with respect to the qualities that we do know. We want to at least remember them when we pay homage to them. All right, so the second is that we've covered is following a desirous mind. It says, if you do not arrest great desire, the lack of contentment, or attachment to expressions of reverence, it is a secondary offense of following a desirous mind. You know, those things again are things that we can assess daily. Are we, you know, have we gone for refuge properly today? Are we following a desirous mind? Third,
attachment to expressions of reverence. So liking.
Well, it's like, you know, if you want others to praise you, you know, tell you how great you're doing, or you think that that person is not speaking to me in a respectful manner, you expect to be respected by that person, and when you do not do that, you get upset.
So an example is that, you know, at the end of the teaching, everybody says, "Oh, thanks, Geshe, thanks, Paps," and one day that didn't occur, and you thought, "Oh my God."
Yeah, I'll become furious.
What's going on?
Yeah.
That's like that. That's an example of that.
Yeah.
I get it.
So, well, I think that kind of.
Is there anything in relation to that, what we're concerned is really in a way, isn't it? I mean, it's specifically in relation to the
Yeah. I remember that we were, you know, quite a few years ago, there was someone here that was giving a talk about the 8 worldly concerns. And over lunch, he was kind of complaining that, you know, some people don't appreciate them. You know, that they don't. Yeah, and it was like, and I thought, like, no, I thought it was like really interesting that was the topic that they were speaking of today, and it's like, and they were complaining that, you know, people don't appreciate them.
Has it highlighted to them?
Yeah. No, actually, I'm not good in highlighting that to people. So, well, yeah, I'm not a kind of confrontational person, unfortunately, only when I get angry. So, or maybe thankfully, I'm not a confrontational person.
I was thinking thankfully myself.
Yeah. So, not respecting elders. That's the third one. I think that we also spoke about that. So here it says, if you do not show respect such as esteem and so forth to senior practitioners of the mind of enlightenment who has good qualities and is worthy of esteem, it is a secondary offense of not respecting elders. And we also said that although it speaks about senior practitioners of the mind of enlightenment, also we can add to that that there are also other token of respecting seniors that we have, like for example, not respecting someone that has been ordained longer than you, or has a higher level of ordination. Not always it comes easy to us to show that sense of respect, but since this is the third fault. Now, so those are the things that we've covered. Let's look at the next one. If out of anger or laziness, you do not respond with a relevant answer to another person's sincere and amicable question, it is a secondary offense of not responding to a question. So someone comes along and asks you a question. It could be definitely a Dharma question, but it seems the implication is also that they could ask you about other stuff that they need to know. You don't answer that question amicably. You can answer a question, but also do it kind of when you can show them how displeased you are being asked, or to give them a kind of give them a death stare, just to scare them away so that they don't ask you again in the future, to give them dagger eyes or whatever. So you can do it. You can do it because of anger, right? You dislike that person. You have a sense of animosity. You think that person is pestering you. So that's one reason. Happens to us, doesn't it? Second is that because of attachment, you have something that, you have information that you don't want to share with others, because if you share that information with others, you will not have an advantage point over them. Yeah, kind of we sometimes want to be special. We want to be that special person that is the go-to person. And if we share information, we might lose that position. Actually, I think that in terms of business practices or workforce practices, I think that this is not uncommon. I have a friend, for example, that
intellectual property rights and all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to protect the company or whatever it is, but not that. Just keeping your information private.
Well, I have I agree with that, but I have a friend that is working for an IT company, and he said that the core software that he's dealing with was written by a couple during the 70s or 80s. Now, it is written in such a convoluted way, and he said that it seems that the software is written deliberately like that, so that they will always have to be paid to be kept on the job, and they don't share that information. So, of course, for someone that has, I cannot say that for someone that has the Bodhisattva vow, that would be breaching their training. It's hard to call, but sometimes we do withhold information in order to get a certain advantage point because of attachment. Maybe holding such information would also be in breach of one's training. What do you think?
Yeah. Completely, wouldn't it? I mean, as long as you're not coming across any recording and you sign a thing of secrecy, or you sign this or that, and you've got a code of conduct. Disclosure.
Sometimes it's necessary. So it's contextual, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. If you're a business owner, you run business, you want to do better than others. Sometimes you have competition, and in order to be successful in your business, you have to compete with others. So you need to find ways in which you can do better than others. And if you share that information, then you're basically digging. Yeah. 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 Well, I was reading also through Thupten Chodron's commentary, and she mentioned this case, which I thought it was pretty shocking in some sense. She spoke about people that were working for law firm, and whenever, you know, if they got a new case and someone had to research legislation or different cases and so forth, they used to go to the library and take out all the books related to this topic, not just in order to make the research, but also in order to prevent others from having access to those books. No, so yeah, now you can just Google it. Yeah. Sorry, children. Anyway, so
I see Glenn Schmenson, that guy that led the mindfulness, the Aussie mindful Aussie, and that he, I mean, it seems to me he's an open book. He pastes things on there, and for me, it's amazing what he shares. Amazing what they share. Yeah, and to me, it gives them more credit. Yeah, I think, yeah, you know, just because you have the information doesn't mean you're an expert at teaching it or leading it or anything like that. You know, it's, yeah.
I mean, it's quite nice. We're looking at, you know, we're using the commentary of Gyatso Dhamma Rinchen to this text. We also, there's the other commentary to Khenpo, Kunten. And to produce a commentary like that takes hours on end, you know, and those translations are basically offered, you know, free of charge. So this is also quite incredible. Not withholding or not thinking that, you know, I worked really hard on that, so therefore I have copyrights and I can, I can earn some money for that. Of course, you know, it's not to say that earning money is a bad thing. You know, some people need to get by, but if you are in a position that you can share something.
It seems to me that it becomes a whole big headspace. Like, you know, Glenn, in my point of view, really practices generosity with his information, with his time, you know, with his teaching. I've never seen anybody repeat points so many times with such patience and such diligence. And just the way he dealt with the questions. That were the same questions after again with such patience. But it was I really was impressed with him. Because it seems, and you know, it seems to me that he's not a witchcraft. But yet he gets by and he's quite comfortable. You know, and that's because I think he's got this whole mind of generosity and being thankful about the kindness of others. You know, I'm sure other people help him out. This and that for him, you know, it's, and you know, I don't know, I was brought up a minister's kid where we rely on the kindness of the congregation. So you're really brought up with that culture, relying on the kindness of other people doing stuff for you. It's a real lesson on dependent arising. And I think the more you are able to embrace that attitude, rather than the feel, I need to have this much money in the bank, like, it's irrelevant really as far as your happiness goes or as far as being right goes. In my point of view, you know, I mean, in my view, I do have money in the bank. That's not because of, you know, I have strived.
Well, you've worked, you know.
Yeah, I have, but well, I mean, yeah, that's what you do in this.
Yeah, it's what you do, and also, you know, having money in bank is not a bad thing. Particularly, I mean, we do need to get by.
Yeah.
You know, you do need some money for old age.
But then, you know, whenever I was struggling for whatever reason, the way I managed that was by practicing generosity, or make a point of, you know, giving to certain projects, and, you know, as much as I could at that time. You know, it really, yeah, I think it's you know, to really just abandon that whole concept of miserliness, not being miserly. It does transform the way you deal with the world and the way the world deals with you. You know, I think it's, you can feel a noisy person, you can tell them without a short time. You can tell, that's right, you can tell a noisy person, as opposed to a person who's up there telling me like something, because I'll just give it to you, you know. People like that too, oh my God, that's lovely. Next thing you know, it's yours, you know, oh my God, that wasn't good. But you know, it's, it all behaves differently.
Coming back to the fourth one is, we spoke about not responding to a question. So because of either, we said that because of anger, could be because of laziness, because just you don't want to go out of your way to do something for a certain person. And it kind of, we started speaking about attachment, because you can also withhold information because of attachment. Particularly here, we're looking at things that are contrary to the practice of generosity. You know, so attachment is incongruous with generosity, but also anger and laziness. Of course, there could be situations where it would be inappropriate to give a certain answer or sincere answer and so forth. You know, we have stories from the Buddhist tradition where, you know, there were, for example, in relation to emptiness, there are 14 questions that the Buddha did not answer when he was asked. You know, because the Buddha remained silent, because giving an answer to that person would have reinforced their belief in the existence of a self. You know, so there are certain situations where answering would be not the right thing to do, but here it says that because of laziness, because of anger, because of attachment, because of, you know, and so on and so forth, you don't answer something in a genuine way, in a nice way. That's a fault. So that's also, I think, something that sometimes happens to us daily.
Well, I think sometimes somebody will ask you quite a deep philosophical question, and you just don't have time to go into the ins and outs of that. So, you know.
But you can make a time.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's the time. Making a point.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not actually qualified to do that.
yes. Or handball. I always like a good handball.
Well, you know, asking questions is always, you know, having to translate for teaching. Sometimes I find that when people ask questions, the questions tend to go for so long.
What's the question?
Yeah, and kind of you don't understand sometimes what the question is, or if you even try to ask the question like the person asked it, the geshe would not understand what the point is. You know, for them it's like, just say it in one sentence, say it in two sentences. If you're going more than that, I don't understand what you're on about. So sometimes geshe was quite rough sometimes with people asking questions, and it just used to cut them halfway through. It's more like, if you can't phrase the questions within 2-3 sentences, don't bother asking that. So
it's not necessarily out of anger or laziness or things. It's out of making, like as you said, when teachers, they're making the person think.
Yeah.
They're asking a question out of laziness, so that's a skill.
Yes, that's right.
Well, let me tell you, some people found it really confronting. Some people got really upset when he cut them through and said, if you can't ask a question in just like 2-3 sentences, don't ask a question at all. So, it's really confronting, but it makes some people a bit scared. But, when people ask us a question, at least we want to try to at least be nice to them.
Also, Geshe attends in the temple. I remember him saying, he said, it should be the teacher asking the question.
Yeah.
I don't need to learn, you need to learn.
Well, this is a very, that's a very Tibetan approach to the discussion. I remember that when Geshe Tsultrim started teach here, in the first few sessions, he used to come and say, have you got any questions? And this is the way that it is taught, So you open, in the monastery, you open a book, you look at different debates, you think about the points, and then you go to see a teacher, and then you start discussing questions. Or, but here we don't study like that. So when they say that you should have the questions, yeah, we should have questions, but this is not the way that we study. So after some time, he kind of saw that actually this is not the way that we study. That he has to kind of change his approach to.
He's been the only teacher that hasn't. I mean, teachers have kicked me out of class because I asked too much.
Maybe I should kick you out. But I'm not a teacher.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anyway. So I think that number 4 is quite clear. Then 5 says, if due to pride, anger, laziness, or bitterness, you do not accept another person's invitation to food or clothing, etc., it is a secondary offense of not accepting another's hospitality. So I think that you can look at that in different ways. First of all, I think that in general, the code for monastics is that when people make offering to them, it's also others are, finding opportunities for creating merit in making offerings to the Sangha. So as a general rule, you should accept offerings. Of course, when it is in the right context. There could be some context when that would not be the right thing to do. Yeah.
Nobody's offered me one yet, but that's a good thing.
Yeah, do not accept offering of MKs, arms and bombs and so forth. But I guess that when if someone is making offerings to you, and kind of like, for example, that there's offerings that made to you were confiscated from the 3 jewels. That's actually a rule downfall, isn't it? Or if you know that there is an ulterior motive, they're making offerings to you, and then next might come a request that would undermine your own ethics. You can think of certain situations like that. It's hard to kind of with something that is really explicit, but you need to find skillful ways of dealing sometimes with situations in which they could give rise to a conflict, right? Could give rise to a certain confrontation, could give rise to something that wouldn't be the right situation. But also sometimes, if you receive sometimes too many invitations, it can also be disruptive. When I worked at Singapore, you get invitations quite a lot. People that either want to hang out with the lamas, or they want to kind of also for them to create merit, they want to take monastics, a monk or a nun for a meal and so forth. But when you're there on the roll, then if you want to be focused, for me it just can't do too much socializing, too much going here and there. So it's very contextual, right? So you need to accept it when it's the right time, and you can decline when it's not the favorable time, but you need to make sure that what's causing you to decline an invitation is not your own laziness or a sense of disliking others, or or something like that. I mean, sometimes you can get jaded, don't you find? Particularly, living in a community, you get pretty jaded by seeing people every day. So sometimes you don't necessarily want to hang out with people also on top of that, but you also need to make sure that you still provide people with the opportunity to interact with the Sangha.
It sort of is. I mean, it does get, I guess these 2 lovely French couple came by, and they were just wandering around the Grand Park, and not Buddhists, but there was just a tourist place, it's a site of interest here in Australia, the Buddhist Centre. I was polite and respectful, we chatted and everything, but I don't know. It's disrespectful to this place, I feel.
That?
people just can wander in here willy-nilly.
Why
Well,
not?
they can think they get influence. I mean, they wander into a Dharma center. They're not saying, let's go and, you know, because they have to come to a Dharma center. You don't know. You don't
I mean, when I went traveling in India before I met Buddhism, I just went into temples and wanted to see what they are. You know, this is how I came across Buddhism.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. I shouldn't be fair enough. Good to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
And I guess the accepting things too. There's one thing that, you know, I'm inspired by. Lamas of the Rinpoche, of course, accepts, but it doesn't stick to the hands. So
Yeah.
it's straight away out to the next person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, you know, it's sort of like accepting doesn't mean I have to hold, you know, that's right.
Well, often you see lamas kind of accepting the offering and then heading them back.
Straight away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was amazed when you did that at my ordination. On how much to give him, as long as you really be generous, that's why you're waiting and anything like that, the most you'll ever spend. Then just get straight back. And then there's also that great story of Lama Zopa going through Namche Bazaar up in the Himalayas, just there, the first major town from Lada. That Roger tells the story. It took him like 3 days to get through Namche Bazaar because everybody wanted to invite him in for a cup. Everybody wanted, and you know, he just accepted. Of course, that's what it's about. So you know, it just took him like 3 days to get out of Namche. I think he probably drove Roger back. No,
That includes the dance or?
No, that's,
Yeah.
that's okay.
All right, let's just do
I told you should have done number 13.
number 13. Making mockery and joking excessively. All right. Maybe I'll skip that when
Yeah.
next week. But thanks for giving me the heads up. You know, I kind of, because there's something that sometimes I seen. So then number 6 is when a benefactor of a gold, silver, or some other precious items, if out of bitterness, anger, or laziness, you do not accept it, is a secondary offense of not accepting gold and the like. It's similar to not accepting invitation, right? Someone is making offerings to you, gold, silver, or something else that is precious, and because of your own afflictions, you dislike that person, right? Bitterness, anger, or laziness, you do not accept it. That is the secondary offense. Of course, there would be.
I can't see how laziness applies there.
Well, you know, if you have to go out of your way to.
Oh, you have to go to them.
Yeah, you have to go to them. You have to go out of your way to be nice to them.
I see.
I mean, go out of your way to be nice to them. It sounds quite harsh, right? But you don't feel like you want to. Yeah. So it's similar to number 5, not receiving invitation, or also here not allowing people to create merit by making offerings. I think that this is pretty straightforward. Of course, there would be the cases where it would be not suitable to receive things which are, gold is expensive. If it was confiscated from an altar,
from the art studio,
don't take it. All right, let's do just the last one, and with that we'll finish for today. If out of bitterness, anger, or envy or laziness, you do not give the Dhamma to those who want it, it is a secondary offense of not giving the Dhamma to those who want it. So, not sharing my wealth or the Dhamma is the second root downfall, right? So here we have, if out of bitterness, anger, envy, or laziness, you do not give the Dhamma. Before we had not sharing the Dhamma, which is similar, right? So could you think of differences, or is it the same?
not giving Dhamma to those who want it.
Well, maybe you have been teaching for a while. You know, say your situation in Israel, you're teaching in Hebrew, and you heard that some of the students that you're teaching were starting to give you flack. You know, they were talking and making fun of you, or something like that. You know, and you go, well, that's it. That's it.
I'm out of here.
I'm not teaching them anymore. A lot of it, you know, you're bitter, you're angry.
Oh, well, I had laziness actually in those once, but
Well, there you go. You've been lazy there as well.
yeah. But it says, but I'll get to that in a second. It says in the second root downfall, it says, if out of miserliness you don't give the Dharma.
Yeah.
Right. So it seems that the second root downfall says that if you're being miserly,
Keeping the information.
yeah, keeping the information to yourself, because it seems that in some sense you also have an advantage point, right? You want to be the teacher. If you share the information with others, then you will lose your status. You want to be a meditation guide. If others get the job, if you give them an opportunity, then they might become the meditation instructors. So in that sense, it is related to, I want to do that thing out of miserliness, you don't share it with others. That's a root downfall.
Yeah.
But then there could be other reasons for not sharing the Dharma, because you're lazy, because you're, as it says here, bitter. No, I don't want to work with those people. It seems that actually, I don't want to work with those people is even harsher than miserliness, right?
Yeah.
Still, it is a fault, right? So if out of bitterness, anger, envy,
Yeah, like I said, it's a more successful company.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I was going to say, how are you able to supplement?
Yeah.
you don't give the Dharma to those who want it. It is a secondary offense of not giving the Dharma to those who want it, right? So I think that probably you can think of not only the teachings, but someone is asking you for an advice, or someone is asking you to lead a session or to help out with something. Or maybe wouldn't necessarily be like giving the Dharma as giving teachings, but sometimes, with asking to help with Dharma stuff, if you're just being lazy about it, it's almost creeping to.
Like, for example, with interfaith, you could, have that irritation or annoying. I'm not sure. Something came to mind. I can't give you an example.
All right.
That, you're sharing the Dharma in a way with people. It may be their only opportunity to engage in the Dharma, but you think, oh, well, that would be a waste of time.
Waste of energy. Yeah.
Waste of energy.
Happens to me a lot.
When it's not about bullets and resolving these three bullets.
Yes.
That is given.
All right. Maybe let's leave it here for now. We've done 7. We've covered the first group of the 46 secondary offenses, those things which are contrary to training in generosity. And we've covered a range of things. Now, some of them have to do with receiving, right? So refusing to receive something, it's actually quite interesting, doesn't accord with giving, with the training in giving, right? So not accepting gold, not accepting invitations, not answering questions and so forth. Well, not answering is quite straightforward, but not accepting is incongruous with.
But it's not, it's denying the opportunity for others to practice generosity.
Well, yeah, you can be kind of.
I see that a lot.
Yeah, you can think about it in a kind of in a greater way, but it's kind of just thought it's interesting that it's in the group of things that are not incongruous, which are contrary to generosity, but it's still about refusing to receive something.
Yeah.
It's still
But that's, I guess that's it's a mindset.
Yeah. I mean, also, we have certain ways of expressing ourselves in English. Like, for example, you can be generous with your time. Now, and I remember many years ago, one of the geshes was asked about it, and he just couldn't get it, how you can be generous with your time. Is it, it's not something that you give, in that it's not something within the classification of generosity, you know. So I think that still, when you think about it in terms of the willingness to interact with others and to go out of your way to interact with others.
Even to go to Sunshine Plaza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm willing.
I think it's very important to be able to do that if you can, possibly. Yeah.
I would like.
Maybe not to excess, but yeah, you should definitely interact with others. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll take a bullet to go to the plaza. Anyway. Bite the bullet.
Up that laugh. Oh, oops, I didn't mute it.
All right.
Okay, Raji.
Inyo do da lama sange do ne do achik yamarupa de salagopa shu chusen chorin make pana ke guchi ke banyam pa me pa gone gondo pewa shu kambe we kawe shinkangi and down the wa away chenre se wa tenzin yapsoi Shape site badu tengyo chi chin jang dung yawe tenzi yong mewe kongzo choso kowe le no tu pahada so do je kundu shate shu.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. See you
Thank you.
all next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Adios, amigos.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon. Have a good weekend.
Awesome.